dude, that segment between him and Jake the Snake Roberts in the ring.
It was really
My
good. Yeah.
gosh.
Well, Jake Roberts is, he probably stood out more in the '80s than anybody else because everybody else was yelling, they're in your face. But Jake, he whispered and he made you listen. He made you lean into the TV, hear
Yeah.
what he had to say.
He would talk like this and just
Very
like
calculated, very very methodical,
very
just very
calculating,
stoic. Yeah,
very threatening.
yeah.
He just talk. He didn't need to raise his voice. He just give you
He
this. That's all he
he was
needed.
a scary dude. He's the type of guy you see on the side of the road and he's trying to hitch a ride. You're like, I'm not doing it. I'm not picking him up. That's what he looks
No.
like. He looks like that. He looked like that guy back in the '80s.
Oh yeah, yeah. And he had the greatest mullet of all time, by the way.
Exactly.
The greatest
Just
mullet ever.
yeah. That was a dude right there that wasn't physically imposing, man, but he just had a scary vibe to him. He just looked.
Completely. And the funny thing
Yeah,
is, yeah, maybe the snake might have Damien may have helped a bit,
yeah.
but if he didn't have Damien, he still would have been just fine. Thank you very
Oh
much.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
his whole
Easily.
thing was, you know what I mean? It's like
He
somebody
was.
carrying a title when they don't need it. Like he
Yeah,
didn't desperately need Damien. Damien helped,
yeah.
but he
They
didn't
gave
need.
him. They gave him the name. They gave him kind of. That's what kids cling to. But yeah, he didn't need it though.
No, not at all. And I mean, even when he was working the indies, just as flat out Jake Roberts,
Yeah.
he was more on the edge of doing what everybody else was doing at that point. But
Hmm.
still, I mean, there was something, and I'm so glad that Vince saw it. See, Vince isn't senile. I'm so glad that Vince noticed it. I just love it when people say that. But Vince saw that and knew that he could be even something else. And so
Yeah.
whoever it was that was responsible, whether it be Vince or Pat Patterson, who's responsible for a lot of things that went on back there, but
Yeah.
whoever it was saw more in Jake, man, and he just absolutely flew.
Yeah. Agreed.
Just took off as one of the most compelling characters ever. But watching him in the ring with Arn Anderson tell a very 80s old school story and take their
Hmm.
time with it and hint at things rather than just outright say them,
Yeah.
it is truly a lost art, and
Yeah.
it's undeniable proof, if you ever needed it, first of all, that they can both still talk, number one. Number two, that Arn Anderson always could.
Yeah.
And it's just that there was so much talent around him, with the Ole Andersons and the Ric Flairs of the world. He just didn't need to. It
Yeah. He was
wasn't
the
necessary.
enforcer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was his nickname back then. Yeah.
Hmm. You know what I've noticed during this whole conversation, or just in general, there really haven't been a lot of dominating women stables, at least in mainstream wrestling.
That's true. They really haven't. Yeah,
Like,
you're right.
we've had stables. You had PMS in the Attitude Era. You had when the women's yeah the women's revolution when they brought in Pay Charlotte and Sasha and Becky. They put them in stables, but
PCB.
nobody really stuck though as
There
far as
was
like
there was Absolution.
yeah, Absolution. Yeah, Team Bad and even you
Yeah.
have with who was it? Mandy Rose, Page, and Sonya Deville. But there's never really been like a
The
true dominating women's stable.
the Riot Squad.
Yeah, but they never really did much with them though. They always lost, or they lost the majority of the time.
Yeah, and it was always like, to your point, like it was always Ruby Riot and them.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't, they didn't bless their hearts, they didn't matter because of the way it was written. They didn't
yeah,
matter, only she did.
exactly,
And now poof, none of them matter. One of them's gone, and we don't really know what's going on with Liv. She's in flux, and Ruby just loses all the time, which is criminal.
exactly, exactly. So it's like
But
we've
you're
never
right.
really,
Like
yeah.
there really haven't been any lasting dominant women's factions. That's very true. I wonder why that is.
And you know what I would like to see?
Yeah.
People already complain about Charlotte or Becky and Sasha and Bailey getting all these opportunities. Why not at some point put them in a stable, make them heels, make them dominant, and build up a face or a couple faces to the point where they can challenge them. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
go with it. Go. People view Charlotte as his heel, and they already say, oh, they don't worry about anybody else except for the four horsewomen. Go with it.
Yeah. Just do like the Rock thing. Like, well, you hated
Yeah,
me. Now I'm going to make you hate me even more. Just
exactly.
do that. You already hate us.
You
So
know
now we're going to be a problem for you because you hate us. Now we're going to make you pay for it.
exactly. Like they've been. They call them the Four Horsemen, but they've never really been a stable before.
No, well, and now how do you do it? Because Becky's being mom.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not going to do it now, but maybe like 2 years down the road,
That
maybe.
got missed. Well, maybe it didn't. Maybe after she's left on maternity leave, maybe she'll come
Mm-hmm.
back
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they could do it then. Who knows? But who knows if she'll want to? It's
Yeah,
hard to
very
say.
true. Very
I
true.
hear motherhood changes you, so
Yeah, yeah,
who knows if she'll even want to do that?
yeah. It was just an idea that I've been thinking about for a while, actually.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's like, well, you
Yeah,
already hate us, and you're already accusing us on the internet and everywhere else for that matter, of
yeah,
being privileged by Vince. Fine, we'll show you how privileged we are. Then
yeah,
we'll really make you hate us now.
yeah.
I think it's a great idea, and it's already there.
And then eventually you get somebody else over off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of a feud anyway. You got to
Yeah,
make somebody,
yeah, exactly.
make them more than they were, by the time the feud is over.
Yeah,
That is a good point, though. Like there really haven't been any dominant female stables, and there've certainly been enough to do it with. I mean, even now, like you've got Bianca, who I would like to see singles. Frankly, I think she'd be more
yeah.
compelling as a singles act. But
I think so too.
but if not, because at this point, based on everything we're hearing, they don't want to weaken her by throwing her in a comedy angle with her husband,
And I actually get
which I
that. I'm
get.
actually okay with that.
Me too. Yeah, and I think she should to a point that I think you've made even earlier. Like I think she should just be on her own
Yeah.
because she could be the greatest female we've ever seen on her own.
From an athletic standpoint, she's
Just
up there.
period.
Yeah.
Even that, of course. I mean, if you like I mentioned on the last video cast, if you sat through that combine, which I did, it was a long day. I had nothing else to do, and it was also really compelling. I'm glad I did it because it showed you what Triple H was trying to show us, that these are legitimate athletes that
Yeah.
could, if they really wanted to cave your face in, they could do it.
Yeah.
Um, and it showed us what Otis was really made of. It showed us what ACH was really made of. Sorry, Jordan Miles, whatever. And it showed us what Bianca Belair was really made of. Those were the
Yeah.
three shockers for me.
Yeah.
Um, and then it showed us a bunch of others too. And it showed us Malcolm Bivens trying to fix himself, which was really cool because he didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
He still did it. But okay, so you've got Bianca, who's already shown us, to your point,
Hmm.
she's an athletic beast. She can get on the mic and kill it.
Yeah.
She has more charisma than 3/4 of the people on the roster.
And the thing with her is she's not like a cookie cutter babyface either. She has spunk, she has attitude, she has swagger, she has all of that.
She's an around the way girl.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
great. Like I love that.
Exactly.
I absolutely love the fact that she's just herself. That's what
Yeah.
makes Naomi so compelling. She's
Yeah.
just herself. You can
Yeah.
tell when somebody's kind of trying to live up to something that the writing committee is creating,
Hmm.
as opposed to just being themselves. Like they're just being themselves.
Yeah.
But they're also kind of being tossed off to the side at this point. So maybe you get Naomi and Bianca and maybe Ruby
Hmm.
and maybe
You
you
got.
and Tamina,
Hmm.
who they seem to be rebooting, but we haven't seen anything yet. They seem to be trying to turn her into Broken Tamina.
I mean, and she's actually looked pretty good the last 6 months. They've actually built her up to a point where she's a believable challenger for the title.
Yeah, because they're giving
Yeah.
her something to do, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, this may all be happening a day late and a dollar short with her because she's
Yeah.
not
Because
getting any younger.
she old is she 42,
I
41,
think
42?
she's 42 now, I
Yeah.
believe, and that's
Yeah.
not old. But I'm not saying that that's old.
Yeah.
But for somebody that my issue is that, or what I'm thinking anyway, is that she's
Hmm.
never really been made to stand and deliver like that. And then
Exactly.
all of a sudden, because of COVID-19, she was, and she pretty much rose to the challenge. I think
And she has a good look. She's big. She's,
she's
she,
beautiful. She's
yeah.
absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. The woman
Yeah.
is. Like I
I
kind of
agree.
crush on Tamina,
Yeah.
but
I met her back in 2013.
did you?
Very sweet, very lovely. One of the nicest people you ever meet.
Now I'm jealous. I hate you for that. She's just gorgeous. Like when she smiles, forget it. Like I'm done.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Asuka. Like just gorgeous, gorgeous woman when she
Yeah.
smiles. Forget it. Like I
And
can't
see,
do,
and that,
I
and that
can't
goes
deal
back,
with this.
and that goes back to what I was saying about the Four Horsewomen. A couple years down the line, you can turn them heel, and you still have Oscar, you still have Bianca, you have Rhea Ripley, you have all these other women coming up from NXT. You have so many women that you can throw at them.
Oh yeah. But like, just like what I didn't finish saying, and it's my fault for not
Yeah.
finishing it, but like take the women that have kind of been tossed to the side,
Hmm.
put them in a stable together and be like, you want to forget us? You want to toss us to the side like we don't matter? We'll show you how much we actually do. Yes, that was corny as crap. But my
I get what
point
you're saying,
is,
though.
but like go that way with it
Yeah,
because it'd be easy to do. Then you're just playing off reality.
exactly. And like I said, there's never really been a time in wrestling where they really pushed a women's stable or multiple women's stables, to a point where people would really gravitate towards them. And they should do that. They should take advantage of that. They have the talent to do so. They should do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really do. And I mean, we're kind of now, unfortunately, given everything that's happened recently with the positive COVID test of the WWE employee or the PC
Hmm.
employee, it's hard to know kind of what they're going to do going forward. Will this fundamentally change what they do? That's yet to be determined. We don't know.
Yeah,
Neither have we, for the most part, been quick to determine whose fault it is. We don't know. This is COVID. This is a
yeah.
wild beast of a disease. There's no we can't put the blame of COVID on anybody. That's not fair.
Yeah, I mean it's hitting sports too. Like I think 13 guys from the Texas Longhorns.
I saw that. Yeah, you
Yeah,
posted that earlier
yeah,
backstage. Like,
and then
oh my,
I think several guys from Alabama got it. I mean it's crazy. I mean the NBA they're gonna do something with the ring and what's it like monitor your temperature and all kind of things. But I'm not sure how accurate that's gonna be. But
the
I just
temperature doesn't tell the whole story anyway.
yeah. And here's my thing with the testing. I had to go get a test. I went to go get a test a couple days ago. And
Good.
they told me it would take 10 to 14 days. And I'm like, well, even if I get the test back and it comes back positive, in those 14 days, anything could happen.
Yeah, it's like they expect you get the test and then they expect you to hide out.
And that's unfortunately I can't. I have a house I got to pay for, a wedding that's coming up, and and I still work. I'm an essential worker, so it's
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it is weird, and the antibody test takes a little while too. It's quicker,
yeah.
but it because I had to have that,
Oh, okay.
but it does take because it turns out I've had it.
Oh
But
yeah.
who knew? Yeah, apparently I had it at the beginning of March.
Did you show any symptoms or anything, or
I had excuse me, I had chills, I had a minor temperature, I had body aches, I had
okay?
all the stuff that you have with the flu. Problem
Hmm.
is, I don't ever get the flu. I've never had the flu in my life.
Really?
So I knew once I was feeling those symptoms, I'm like, great, it's COVID.
Yeah.
Cool. So I just kind of stayed home and let it roll over me. And it wasn't that big of a deal. And in most
Yeah.
cases, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But there are still enough people dying that you don't turn a blind eye to it.
Oh
Or
yeah, definitely. And we're hoping they got a vaccine out there, from what I'm hearing. So hopefully that's something.
because Mitch was telling us like December, and he showed us that BBC article that was referencing that the text that excuse me the vaccine that they're testing in Oxford is apparently going very, very well.
Okay, that's good.
So hopefully by December, I know it's a bit of a ways out, but at least it's
Yeah.
better than having nothing. And who knows, maybe they'll be able to speed it through because a lot of it's kind of dependent on what the FDA does,
Yeah.
who are famous for dragging their heels on certain things.
Yeah.
So who knows? But even then, once that shows up, like you've got to first of all, you've got to be able to find it,
Yeah.
and then once you do, hopefully it doesn't have a bad reaction with you. Like Queen and I were talking about it. You were there too, I think. But you can't take it. You can't necessarily take it right away because if you're high risk like Queen is,
Hmm.
who's got a lot of things wrong with her. She's a very, very strong lady, but there unfortunately physical things that are wrong with Queen that have been wrong for a long, long time. So
Yeah.
she can't be a guinea pig. She can't afford it.
Yeah.
So it would have to be out there and be working for a bit in order for her to go in and take it. And one just hopes that in the interim she doesn't catch it.
Yeah.
She's kind of been stuck inside for the most part. And even when she goes out for anything, we jump on her like, why are you outside? Like,
Yeah.
stay inside. Don't be stupid. But kind of but this is kind of what we're dealing with now. This is kind of what the new reality is. And who knows how much it changes. But
Hmm.
given the public diagnoses of that WWE PC employee, as well as all of the others that you spoke of with the Texas Longhorns and elsewhere, because they are
Yeah.
elsewhere. And it's nobody's fault. It's just kind of happening. But in this new reality, Tamina stepped up,
Yeah.
stepped way up, and now they seem to be recasting her as broken.
Hmm.
If you saw that video on Twitter, it's probably still there.
I did see that.
It's fabulous. Who knew? Like, she nailed. It's so good
Yeah.
because she had for such a long time not shown any personality.
She showed some a bit when she was dating Santino Morella. You remember that kind
I
of brief
do.
period that she
That's
had?
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
She kind of did it then, but it's like, it's almost like she can't operate in gray area like a lot
Yeah.
of people can. Like Seth can operate in gray area.
Yeah.
Nia can.
Yeah.
We say bad things about Nia, but she can talk for days. She
Yeah.
can do it. Or
Yeah.
Alexa Bliss can operate in gray area and be just
Yes.
fine. Like there has to be something definite and concrete, some
Hmm.
definite purpose, hardwired purpose for Tamina to go after in order to get her to show anything other than that her face doesn't necessarily do what her mouth does.
Yeah.
It's lost. So maybe this is that thing, this whole broken thing, maybe that works. You know, I hope it does.
I mean, it's worth a shot. Why not?
It worked for who?
He said it's worth a shot.
Yeah, there really is nothing to lose. And I mean, she has shown some spark, certainly with her program with Bailey. She did show
Yeah.
like real legitimate spark. But then, I mean, can you imagine that in a stable with all the other women who've been forgotten? You know, not
Yeah.
necessarily forgotten's a bad word now, but maybe not necessarily forgotten, but like cast aside. Yeah, you know,
Yeah. I know what you mean.
but you know, but just like, but not thought of. Like
Yeah.
we have nothing for you, stable. You know, like take advantage of it. Call them that. Just like call it what it is. You know,
And you know what? I remember. I'm not sure.
we are. I
Yeah.
know what it is. We have nothing for you. That
And
is
I
our
re-
name.
and I remember. I'm not sure if you remember this, but I had made a suggestion. It was like an idea that I tossed around when AW was just first kicking around and rumors were running rampant about how everybody was looking, for greener pastures.
I know where
Why
you're
not?
going.
They should have just put Harper, the Revival, Sasha Banks, and Philly people together and kind of and put them in, had them maybe have them come out, interrupt a couple matches, beat down some people, have them cut a promo at the end of the night, and kind of imply that they're going to jump ship. Don't say AW outright, but kind of imply that that's what they're thinking about doing. Just do something like this. Take Dirt Sheet Rooms and just run with it. Run with it. That's what I would have did.
It's kind of like the flip of what they did with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash when they went to WCW.
Exactly.
Like, you know who we are, but you don't know why we're here.
Exactly.
And Bischoff has copped to the fact that that's exactly what he was doing. He wanted people to think that they were coming in from the WWE to ransack WCW, and he did it until the lawsuits started coming.
But it was great though because I wasn't on Dirt Sheets in '96. I wasn't reading pro. He had the magazines. There? Yeah, I mean, Dave Meltzer's been around since the early '80s. I mean,
if I remember
the newsletter,
and perhaps I don't, that's true. There was the Observer newsletter, but it wasn't immediately accessible. Exactly. What we had back then were the after rags.
Exactly. People didn't go to the store and get wrestling magazines back then. At least not a bunch of people. Well, you know what I mean. I'm talking about the Observer. You wouldn't even know where to go look for that stuff in the '90s. You know what I mean?
I had no clue that there were dirt sheets. I
didn't either.
All I knew was, so I'm trying to remember back then. So I don't remember if Inside Wrestling and The Wrestler were still a thing back then. I suspect they may not have been, but Pro Wrestling Illustrated was.
Yeah.
So we did have those things, and when I was a kid, I was eating up all three of them, like you wouldn't believe. Like
I have an older cousin. He was a big wrestling fan, and he would always tell me stuff like behind the scenes. Like I found it through him when I was like 10 that Vince was the owner of the company, and I was like, "You mean the commentary guy?" I had no idea. Neither he would tell me stuff, and I'm like, "How do you even know this? Like, where are you getting this from?" And then years later, I'm hearing about the same stuff that he was telling me. I'm like, oh, he must have been reading this stuff. He must have been a smart before smarts were cool, basically.
It must have been because that stuff wasn't even in. It wasn't even in Inside Wrestler or the Inside Wrestling or the Wrestler. Those were after rags in the sense that they were purely storyline. There was no backstage to do. He must have been reading the Meltzer stuff.
It must have been because he how old is my cousin now? He's 40. I'm 35. He's about 9 or 10 years older than me.
So he's my age. Okay.
Yeah, so he was, he was always a wrestling fan, and he never liked Hogan, never liked Austin. And what do Smarks do? They hate on the top guy. That's what he did.
Never liked Hogan. See, I can't imagine that because I did until we discovered he was racist.
But he must have knew
Uh,
something about Hogan before we did, because obviously I loved Hogan as a kid. Obviously, I don't like the dude now. I mean, he can kick rocks for all I care.
There's a
But
little to like now. Yeah, like
yeah,
really
exactly.
to like now.
And he didn't like Steve Austin either.
Really?
Never liked Austin.
Never? Not even when he was in ECW?
You know what? He never really see. I never knew ECW was really a thing until like I was 14, 15. So yeah, I was a kid. I didn't even know. I was living in LA at the time. I didn't even know where ECW came on at. I was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
But
lot harder to find back then. Yeah.
back when I was 9 or 10, all I knew was WWF and WCW. That's pretty much all I knew.
And in your defense, when he was
Yeah,
in WCW, there wasn't that much to like. He wasn't terrible or anything. He was just kind of there. He hadn't
I've seen
found.
some. I've seen some of his stuff though. Like as far as his ring work,
Oh
really
yeah.
good.
Oh,
Really,
he
really
had that
good.
all day long. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
really
really,
good.
every team that we've talked about up to this point, I mean, I can't think of any of them that no, the NWO didn't. Not always.
Yeah.
Because we kind of talked about the mic work, but we didn't get to the ring work. We'll cut this in two pieces. Don't worry about it. Sorry,
Okay.
guys. This is now you're watching part two. You didn't know that, did you? But well, no, you did know that, but I didn't. This is too meta. I can't deal with it. But at any rate, it's part two. Darn it, you're in part two. But in terms of the ring work, really, the only team that we've talked about, or the only faction that could get it done on the mic and not necessarily get it done in the ring, is the NWO, or parts of it.
Yeah, that's very true. But they never had to though. They never had to be good in the ring. It was a different time. It was about the characters. It was about the promos. It was about the aura. That's what it was.
Well, but I mean, but you think of it like
Hmm.
the three. It's true, but it's pretty remarkable. Like the more I'm thinking about it, the more startling it becomes,
Hmm.
because you had the three top heels in professional wrestling: Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. Scott is an asterisk. It's just that he didn't care.
Yeah,
I'll take him out of that, because when he cared,
he's pretty good.
he could be amazing in the
Yeah,
ring when he cared.
especially with
The
the right
problem,
worker.
well, but okay, I'll even give you that. Sure, for sure. But I mean, like, when he cared, forget it. I remember
Yeah.
watching him in in AWA when his promos were just completely, when they were Vern Gagne promos, when they were just
Oh, okay.
boring Vern Gagne face promos. But there was clearly, you remember when he had like the mustache, the mustache,
Yeah.
and before he was dyeing his hair,
Hmm.
when he just looked like some white dude from Florida. When he dyed his hair darker, then he became Razor Ramon, and he
Yeah.
developed some serious swag. But before then, he didn't have it. But in the ring, you couldn't complain. He was in a tag
Yeah.
team with I almost said Kurt Angle. Um, where's my brain? Oh my gosh, Kurt Hennig. There we go. Got it. I said Kurt Angle and I couldn't get it out of my brain.
Oh my goodness.
I know, man, don't get old. But when the two of them together as a team were really formidable,
Hmm.
and they could both just absolutely go. But by the time he got to WCW, of course, his demons were getting the better of him,
Yeah.
and he phoned a lot of stuff in. But Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan, bless their hearts, couldn't go.
No.
That was never the point of Hulk. And for some reason, though Kevin Nash was trained by the right guy, he was trained by Jody, he couldn't really go. He had a
He
couple
was
of moves, and that's about it.
Yeah, he was too tall, and his joints just weren't willing.
Because by then he was 40 by then, I think, 40,
Yeah, no,
41.
he got in the game pretty late. Like I think he was champion in WWF, he was already like 35 or something. And prior to wrestling, he was in the military, I think. So that probably took a toll on him too. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, but he wouldn't even put on rest holds well. Like
yeah,
he wasn't Mongo. Nobody was that bad,
yeah,
but he wasn't anywhere near that bad. If you're following a Twitter account, you need it in your life. It's so funny. But because you just see all the bad stuff Mongo's done. I'll link to it in the description. You got to
All
see
right,
it.
I'll check it out.
It's so good. It's just genius because he couldn't do anything. But Kevin wasn't that bad. But you would be hard pressed to get a decent match out of him if he wasn't with someone who could really work.
Yeah.
And the matches between he and Hogan were just bordering on train wrecky, because neither of them could do it. They just
Yeah.
they were, to your point, They knew that it was a different time. They were both getting paid extremely well.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they cared about. And you could
Yeah.
tell when the bell rang, they care about getting the money.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
don't
that's
really
but
care so
that
much about
was
anything else.
pretty much wrestling in the late '90s. Even in WWF, it wasn't really about the ring work at that point.
Well, but they could. I mean, it's it's that's to me anyway. That's the reason why it's so notable that Kevin and Hulk couldn't work, because
Yeah.
everybody else could work, even though they
Yeah.
didn't need to all the time.
Yeah.
And it was very personality driven.
Yeah.
I mean, they could. The only other person who was, there really is no other person that wasn't ready for that like they were.
Yeah.
And neither of them really had much of an excuse. Okay, fine, I guess I can give you Kevin's knees, but it ain't like Scott was that much shorter.
How tall was Scott Hall? 6'7", 6'6",
He was
6'7"?
like 6'7", 6'8".
Okay.
He wasn't small, and Hogan was
Yeah.
6'7".
Well, Hogan was just really jacked, and he's not an athletic dude at all. He was never athletic at all.
Yeah, because he was basically like a leg drop.
Yeah, I do remember. I do remember seeing some stuff from him in Japan where he was actually putting together some pretty nice sequences. It wasn't great, but it was better than most of his WWF stuff or his WCW stuff.
Yeah, and it's really confusing, and it's confusing because he was trained by Hiro Matsuda.
Yeah,
So he should have been able to work his face off, which then only leads me to conclude that he probably could work better than that. He just didn't.
yeah, and it wasn't what Vince required when he brought him in for his big national expansion.
Yeah, because the matches were, he sold okay. I'll
Yeah.
give him selling. He sold okay, and
But
he
that
could
was the thing.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was a guy. He get his rear end handed to him by the monster heel, make his big comeback, double leg drop, and do the finger pointing. That was his shtick. That was all he needed.
Yeah, because it's still a phrase that's used today. Hulking up.
Yep.
It's still used among professional wrestlers today.
Yep. Hogan must pose.
He'd stand up and shake, and like that was
Yeah.
that, and then the guy knew he was in trouble, and then it was
Yeah.
pretty much over.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. I mean, there was very much, unfortunately, a lot like a Ric Flair match. There was a template,
Hmm.
and those matches marked in lots. All of Hulk's matches, much more so than Ric Flair's,
Yeah.
much more so.
Yeah. Flair was godly in the ring, basically.
He was. I mean,
Yeah.
he did do. We got to be real about it. He did do the same things over and over and over and over and over.
Oh, I
And
think, but
over and over and over.
everybody has a format, though. I mean, that's just
But he could get really scripted, like the Flair flop.
I think that's
It
true.
was hilarious, and I loved it dearly, and I'm so glad we got it.
Yeah.
And it's often parodied on the indies. Like, they don't dare do it on WWE TV, but you see it a lot on the indies from guys who are trying to get their flair on. But
Yeah.
like, he did kind of overdo certain things, and the way he would sell was kind of very samey too sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if he was ever locked in the figure four, for instance, you knew what it was going to look like when he was selling it.
Mm-hmm.
You knew the tricks he was going to pull to get out of it. You knew that he was probably going to, if for instance, if he had it on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We're still talking stables, four horsemen. Please keep up. I'm messing with you. But because it seemed like we're talking about individuals, I'm still thinking in terms of horsemen. But if he would have somebody in the figure four, the chances were pretty good that the guy he had it on, if he mattered, if he wasn't a job guy.
Yeah.
But if he had it on somebody that would matter, somewhere at some point soon, it was going to get reversed.
Yep.
And then you knew the look he'd have on his face, like he was going to die. And you knew that he was going to go for the ropes as fast as humanly possible to get out of it.
Yep.
Or maybe he'd flip it back over and bring the pain once more until finally the other guy got to the rope. So there was kind of a script. And to your point, I mean, there really are only so many things you can do. I get it.
Yeah.
But he could be awfully formatted. But still, even at that, like, just as you said yourself, like, Flair could work his face off.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, Hulk just couldn't. There just was so little in his arsenal, or so little he cared about. Maybe that's more likely. But with Kevin, like, I mean, he was a jackknife powerbomb. And even
Yeah,
at that, he'd hurt people with it.
he's so big, so tall. You know, that's a long way down.
Well, it is, but I mean,
So just
I remember, and it's on YouTube, I'm sure. And I can't remember the Nitro episode it was taken from, or it might have even been a pay-per-view. But I remember when he had who turned out to be the Big Show at the time, the Giant,
yeah.
up for the Jackknife Powerbomb.
Oh,
Do you remember
yeah.
that?
That he should have never. Yeah, I mean, the Big Show's he's too big.
He was bigger then than he would be when he came. The Giant was bigger.
Yeah,
Um, by the time he showed up in WWE, he wasn't quite so big, and he could work better. I mean,
yeah,
he even himself has said that the WCW power plant is not exactly the place you went to learn to work.
yeah,
Um, and they had Napoleon down there trying to, just yelling at people rather than teaching them much of anything. And so they had Pez Watley down there. So
yeah.
that should have accounted for something, but that's essentially where he and Goldberg both came from. And Show wasn't great at all until he came to the WWE. And then he really learned how to
Yeah, he
work.
kind of
And
evolved. Yeah,
he really evolved, but Goldberg came out of there.
yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
Goldberg, don't you? The guy that took Bret Hart's career from him.
Hey, go back. So he probably more dramatic than Hogan was, and that's saying something.
Oh yeah. And he
Yeah.
ended, who else did he end?
Oh, there was somebody else.
I know he ended Bret Hart. You know what? I was thinking of Rick Martel, but Booker T did that unintentionally, and that was just a mistake that they're probably both mutually responsible for.
Yeah.
But that's how Martel's career ended. But I can't think if there was. I know there've been other people he's hurt. He wasn't particularly kind to William Regal when they were in the ring together.
I think isn't the match where Regal blew him up on purpose?
Yeah, because he was trying to.
Okay.
Well, there was another one even after that, but Regal was trying to get a match out of him, and no, this was right. The match before is the one where Goldberg had been less than friendly. And
Okay.
then the next match they had, he was told to get a match out of him apparently, and
Mm-hmm.
tried to get it, but Goldberg couldn't tell the story. He couldn't actually
Yeah.
do it. And then Regal got blamed for it and got fired.
Yeah. I think I've seen Goldberg have one good match in WCW. Now it's with DDP. That's the only good match I can recall from Goldberg.
But
That
see,
was worth anything.
I'm glad you brought up DDP,
Yeah.
because in response to Kevin Nash, DDP is another one who had been a manager before. In
Mm-hmm.
the AWA, he'd been a manager with the Diamond Doll and
Yeah.
had the Diamond Exchange stable and all of that. So but he wanted to wrestle the whole time. He just
Yeah.
couldn't figure out how to get in, and finally he was given a chance to get in because he and Eric are friends. So he managed to get into wrestling at the ripe old age of 35 and proceeded to completely kill it.
Yeah.
Like he had, all of a sudden, now not only do we have all of this charisma that he was showing us as a manager,
Mm-hmm.
but he could kill in the ring, and he
Yeah.
could. He worked at it and he did it. So then, and he's not small either.
No, but he was never jacked though. He never had like a steroid body or nothing like that. He was just a solid looking dude.
Yeah, not at all. He
Yeah.
kind of had his thing together condition wise and got
Kind of
good quick.
yeah. He kind of looked like Scott Hall. His body build was kind of like Scott Hall, like just a
Very
solid
much
dude.
like Scott Hall. Yeah.
Yeah, very solid looking dude. Not overly jacked. Didn't look like he was on anything, but just a big solid dude though.
Yeah, I agree. But
Yeah.
then it's like, but if he can do it and get it late and still get it done, then why couldn't Kevin Nash?
Yeah, it's a very
And
good point.
I think it just comes down to the fact that Kevin probably just didn't have to care. He was
Yeah,
getting paid so well,
and you know what?
swindling
When did
Turner out of a lot of money to do it.
yeah?
Why
When
bother
did he
if you're him?
when did he break into wrestling? Nash 92,
I think
91?
it was like 91 or 92. I think well, no, because then we're leaving out Oz, we're leaving out Vinny Vegas.
Wasn't Vinny Vegas that was right before WWF though, right?
When did he debut? You know what? I have no shame. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna look at my phone and see when did he debut? Because there were a lot of things that he did that just didn't work. No, not MASH, Ed. Kevin Nash. Let's see here. So he's 60 now. Looks great for 60. Let's see. He debuted in 1990.
And then so basically, he had what the 2.5 years in WCW. Came in at 93. By 94, he was receiving the monster push.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really didn't. He wasn't there very long before he really got to the top.
That's true. And he was pushed
Yeah.
mostly because of the way he looked.
Yeah.
Because this was a good looking dude.
Yeah.
like
Charismatic.
that Queen absolutely loves, but she crushes
Yeah.
on Kevin Nash still to this moment. But she'll talk about it if you ask her. But yeah,
Yeah.
but she crushes on him, and she crushes on Mick Foley too. Could they be any different? I don't know. Queen, you have to
Yeah.
answer for this. But at any rate, but he was. I'm looking at this now. Like he was Vinny Vegas, which was completely silly. He was Oz, which was sillier. If you
Hmm.
can get sillier than Vinny Vegas, Dusty found a way to do it with Oz.
Yeah.
Then Master Blaster Steel, who I can't recall. Do you
I
remember
can't
Master
either.
Blaster Steel?
Not at all. That must have been right before.
Yeah,
Was that it?
I don't know.
Was that
I
before
don't that one I
WCW
don't
or?
remember. He was also, of course, he was Kevin Nash, and he was
Mhm.
Diesel first, and then Kevin Nash, and he was also Chet Lemon.
Even the Diesel gimmick was kind of stupid in hindsight. Like the
Oh,
whole, it was just the whole. I don't know, just the gimmick itself. Like he comes out to Diesel noises and things like that. That was kind of dumb.
oh, it was complete. It was completely stupid,
Yeah,
but he
he
pulled
looked.
it off.
Yeah, he did. He did.
So who cares? Like you can. I mean, the Undertaker gimmick in and of itself is incredibly stupid. Like, oh, we're gonna have a guy who's dead,
Yeah,
huh? But he's Mark Callis. He's genius. He made it work.
yeah.
And Vince Russo. I mean, you got to give it to Vince Russo too on that one. So
Oh,
because
with
they
the
launched the
repackaging.
Undertaker character together. So
Yeah,
and then of course you can't leave out, oh my
yeah,
that made it work. Ted DiBiase had something to do with it at first.
yeah.
So, but there were people around him and then his own genius that made it work. And I think it's a lot the
Exactly.
same with Kevin Nash. The idea is incredibly stupid,
Speaking of
but he
stables,
made it work.
What about the Ministry of Darkness?
Oh, see, that's in my dark spot. Part of that is, and then also, and then the Brood, which is also in my dark spot.
The Brood wasn't so much in the mic work; it was about the mystique with them. Like
Right, that's what I remember. Yeah,
that was the mystique. 'Cause I don't really remember Gangrel cutting too many promos.
he
Same with
didn't. Okay,
not that I remember. I could be
okay,
wrong. I don't remember.
I
Same with
would
Edge and
know.
Christian. I don't remember them cutting too many promos until they kind of broke away from him.
Okay, yeah, that's it. That's in my dark spot. But you were
Yeah,
saying the Ministry of Darkness, so yes, please go because you know
yeah.
more.
Just Undertaker in general, man. He was sadistic, man. That was like sadistic cult worship Undertaker, man. That might have been the darkest. That might have been the darkest that character had ever been. I mean, he literally lynched Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15.
Oh
Lynched
my
him.
gosh, really?
Yeah, go back and watch WrestleMania 15. They had a Hell in a
Ooh,
Cell match. He
ooh,
lynched him, hung him from the top of the cage. You could never do that today. And nah,
no.
never. They did that. And then there was a go home show before a pay per view. It wasn't WrestleMania. It might have been prior to WrestleMania. It was a tag match that was Austin and Mick Foley versus Undertaker and Rock. The Rock was still the corporate champion at the time. And at the end of the match, I think the Brood came out and they kind of tied Austin up to like his crucifix, Undertaker's crucifix, and then they hung, and then they like basically raised the crucifix up in the air with Austin tied to it, and that's how the show went. That's how the show went off the air.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
and Undertaker getting down on his knees and worshiping something, and his eyes just rolling in the back of his head. I mean, that was sadistic.
Dag, they did not care back then, did
No, they
they?
didn't.
Ooh,
No, they
hoo, hoo,
didn't.
hoo, hoo, hoo,
No, they
hoo.
didn't. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, look that up.
WrestleMania 15. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, where he lynched Big Boss Man. And
Wow.
it's weird because Boss Man worked, I think, the week after, like that never happened. It was the
So kind of
craziest
like
thing.
AJ after the Barnyard match, basically.
But this was much more graphic though, because you can see Boss
Well,
Man sitting
yeah.
there, and it was it was a lot. It was a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, WrestleMania
To
15, kids. Wow.
to me, that I mean, out of all the questionable angles, the Katie Vick and Mark Henry and Mae Young being caught in bed together, that one takes the cake for me. Yeah,
The woman gave birth to a hand.
yeah. But this one takes the cake for me though. When Bossman got lynched, I was like, that's crazy. Even when I was like 14 or 15 watching it, I'm like, they just did that.
That sounds completely crazy.
And there isn't much that offends me, but that was just like, whoa, that's a lot right there.
Oof.
Yeah.
I wonder if it exists on the network for people to even see it. My gosh. That
I mean,
sounds
they
diabolical.
might have edited that out because it was after the match, after he beat him, so they possibly might have took that out. But
Gotcha.
I'm sure we can find it somewhere though. It's got to be out there somewhere.
That's amazing. I mean, in
Yeah,
all the wrong ways, but that's wow.
it is. It was. Yeah, that gimmick was pretty sadistic. And then him, I remember there was another, I think it was Sunday Night Heat, back when that was still a decent show, when there was some advancing storylines. Undertaker took a teddy bear. It was after his match with King. It was an Inferno match they had. He beat King, had a teddy bear, set the teddy bear on fire, and put it in front of Vince. And Vince started just breaking down, crying. And I think that was supposed to be like a symbolic gesture, like, "Hey, we kidnapped your daughter," or something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was.
Psychological horror is what it is.
Yes,
Wow.
that was right around the time when Stephanie McMahon got introduced to TV, and they came and kidnapped her, and then Austin saved her, and then it looked like Vince was finally turning face. They shook hands, that whole thing, and then afterwards it was revealed that Vince was the higher power the whole time. But that was some dark TV, man. That might have been. I mean, I know we see some stuff in AEW with like the whole Dark Order, and they tried it with Brandy, but that Ministry of Darkness, man, that was.
We're
That
talking
was
about best stables, not worst ones.
well, you know what I mean. But I mean, we've seen other promotions try with the darkness and everything, but
yeah,
the Ministry of Darkness, man, that was really dark. They did some really dark stuff.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't. I mean, they would. Again, we said it already, but they'd never be able to get away with anything like that now. You can only get so dark without standards and practices.
Maybe the teddy bear thing. You might be able to get with the teddy bear, but everything else.
You can infer all you want. You just can't come out and say it.
Yeah,
having somebody on a cross like that, you can't do that anymore.
But even the teddy bear thing was kind of disturbing. That was real disturbing.
What? So was that on a? I was in the dark, guys. So was that?
That was Sunday Night Heat, sometime in mid '99, early '99.
Okay.
Like I said, it was Undertaker versus Kane in an Inferno match. Taker beat Kane, and then afterwards, I think some of Taker's, I think it was the Brood or Viscera or whoever else was in the stable. They grabbed Vince, kind of held him there, brought him to his knees. Taker lit the bear on fire, and then showed it to Vince, and then Vince just started bawling.
Gotcha. I'm curious now.
Yeah.
I kind of want.
Yeah, you got to check that out. You got to check that out.
Okay, it's probably on YouTube.
Yeah.
That'd probably be the easiest way to find it. The search function on the network leaves a lot to be desired. So
yeah, because I think it was a Viscera, Median, the Brood. Who else was in that stable with? There might have been somebody else in that stable with the Ministry of Darkness before they merged with the corporation. But
that was about to be my next question: who was in the stable? Yeah, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty crazy though.
Gotcha. You have to check some of this stuff. That's all in my blind spot.
Yeah.
I think. Let me see. Did we get everybody? I think we got all those. I think we got all the stables in WWE anyway. If we go into AEW, it'll take us, or any other promotion, frankly, it'll take us longer.
Yeah.
But I think we got. Oh wait, no, we didn't.
Who did we forget?
The Job Squad.
They were a funny stable, but I wouldn't really. They're definitely not one of the greatest, though.
Well, I mean, that was the point.
Yeah.
But just imagining the idea of Too Cold Scorpio in a stable that doesn't matter.
Wasn't Bob Holly in that stable?
Yes, Bob Holly, Al Snow.
Oh, with the mannequin head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Help
and
me.
Then Blue Beanie.
Yes, Blue Meanie was it? Yeah.
Oh, did I say Blue Beanie? Yeah, Blue Meanie. Yeah.
It was not Blue Beanie, Blue Meanie. Yeah. But Too Cold Scorpio was. I don't know that there is a more missed opportunity in professional wrestling than Too Cold Scorpio, because he could do anything that you asked him to do. He could be.
Flash Funk.
I'm sorry.
Flash Funk.
He did, but he did it well.
Yeah.
It's hard to complain. It just didn't get used. He got thrown into a dancing gimmick, and it just didn't work. But in the ring, he could absolutely kill it.
Yeah.
I mean, and on the mic, he could absolutely kill it. He did it he absolutely killed it in ECW for the longest time. His feud with Shane Douglas was just the stuff that legends are made of. It's just life itself. And then, he came to WWE and probably just got misused.
He really was never used that well in WCW either.
No, not at all.
Not that I recall, no.
He only ever really mattered in ECW.
Yeah.
So we kind of it was like he was able to show what he really had, and nobody took advantage of it when he came
Yeah.
to WWE. It's very weird, just criminally underrated performer who's
Yeah.
still working today.
Is he?
Yeah, he's still out there today. He doesn't have any hair, but he's got a baldy now, but he still works his face off. He's slightly slower, but only slightly.
Okay.
He's still going today. It's amazing. It really is.
Hmm.
And then what Al Snow is with OVW now, I think.
Yeah.
Just working the book down there, I believe. Bob Holly, I don't know. I don't know what's become of him.
Well, he's been practicing social distancing before social distancing was ever a thing.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Yeah. he just doesn't like people, so
It seems that way, doesn't it? Yeah. But I think we've covered them all.
Yeah,
We've certainly talked long enough to cover them all, haven't we?
Yeah.
Hence the part 2, maybe even the part 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've covered it. We won't. We'll leave the other stables alone. We have to remember that we did this so that when we all get back together, we can continue.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe they'll think of things we didn't think of.
Yeah.
We can get the stables in the other promotions, because darn it, stables matter.
Yeah.
So we'll cover those 2, and then we'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming next week too, where we can talk about the women that we didn't get into today, because it just felt funny to do without Kendra.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully Kendra will be feeling better by then. I'm sure that she will. Just as we said at the outset, I hate to be smarmy, but we should. This is YouTube after all, isn't it? Of course it is. So smash that like button, darn it. That's the way they say it, isn't it? Smash the like button. Don't forget the post notification bell so you can see when we drop another video. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll have content every week. So we've just done 2 episodes just like that now. So anyway, for Duke Dre, I have been and always will be Baron Botch. And we will see you next time.